Have you ever wondered how an ordinary evening can turn into a nightmare in just a matter of minutes? Sometimes it starts with something simple, a sound behind the door, a sweet invitation from a stranger, or a shadow lingering quietly behind the curtain. But in the end, it leaves you with one feeling, that you were lucky to survive. In tonight's video, I'll share 3 true stories, real experiences that the people involved still can't forget, even to this day. So turn down the lights, put on your headphones, and get ready. Story 1. The body bag in the Halloween decorations. Halloween was always a fun holiday, until I found a dead body lying on my own front lawn. I used to love Halloween. The crisp air, the smell of fallen leaves on the streets, the sound of children laughing in the night, and the soft flicker of jack-o'-lanterns glowing like drifting spirits. Every year our family would go all out decorating the front yard, fake spider webs, plastic skeletons, tombstones, and those big black trash bags made to look like body bags. But that year, one of those bags wasn't just a prop. On Halloween night, my wife Donna and I stood at the door handing out candy to dozens of neighborhood kids. A little girl, maybe 5, dressed as a witch, stepped onto our porch and immediately made a face. She tugged at her mom's sleeve and said, "Mommy, that one smells." I looked out at the lawn. 3 large black trash bags were lying side by side. I laughed, thinking maybe it was just the trash bin nearby. But then, I smelled it too. That moldy, sour stench like rotting meat sealed in plastic and left in the sun for days. Our dog, usually calm, started barking furiously toward the corner of the yard exactly where the bags were. I figured I'd clean it up in the morning. Maybe one of the props was getting old. But the strange thing was, I didn't remember placing the biggest bag there the day before. The next morning, a neighbor called me outside. He had been out for an early walk and stopped in front of our lawn. When I came closer, he pointed to one of the bags and vomited on the spot. The bag was slightly open. Something was sticking out of the edge. I leaned down. It was a human arm, grayish, bloated, dried like sunburned skin. I staggered back, my legs giving out. Donna screamed from inside the house when she saw me, pale and shaking, pointing at the garbage bag. The police arrived and cordoned off the area. Neighbors gathered. Kids were told to stay inside. And that bag, the one we thought was just decoration, held an actual corpse. A man in his 30s, identified a few days later. He didn't know anyone in our neighborhood. Our home security camera didn't capture anything. The recording was corrupted from the night of the 30th to the 31st. The police checked nearby surveillance, nothing. No one was seen placing anything on our lawn. It was as if the body had been dropped right in the only blind spot in the entire area. What kept me up at night for weeks wasn't just the fact that we'd found a body. It was that the bag wasn't there the night before. I'm sure of it. Donna swears it too. So what does that mean? It means, while I was handing out candy, laughing with kids standing right next to that bag, someone unseen had quietly placed a dead body at my feet. Beneath dim porch lights, amid the sound of children's laughter, a corpse was perfectly disguised in the middle of a holiday game. And I keep thinking, if that night I had gotten curious, reached down, peeled back the plastic just a little, maybe I wouldn't be alive to tell this story. Story 2. The Man with the Mask. Last Halloween, I was living alone in my late grandmother's house, a home filled with peaceful childhood memories, and whispers I once blamed on my imagination. After she passed, my mother didn't want to sell the house that had meant everything to her, so she gave it to me. I was 24, single, and for the first time living entirely alone, right as Halloween arrived. Originally, I planned to just leave a bowl of candy outside and shut the door. But then I thought maybe I should at least greet a few people. Let the neighbors know someone new had moved in. Kids came by all afternoon. A few adults asked about my grandmother with sad, respectful looks. She'd been loved by everyone on the block. Everything felt normal. Until just after 9 p.m. I was in the kitchen rinsing a cup when I heard a soft voice at the front door. Trick or treat. No knock. No doorbell. Just the voice. And something about it made my skin crawl. When I opened the door, a man stood there wearing a wrinkled purple suit and a smooth, featureless plastic mask. His voice was unnaturally high-pitched, trying to sound like a child. It was wrong. He looked to be in his mid-30s, pretending badly to be a kid. I asked who he was supposed to be. He didn't respond. Just stared at me through that blank mask, his eyes completely unfocused. I dropped 2 candies into the white pillowcase he was holding. It was eerily empty, like I was the only door he'd approached all night. I shut the door and shivered. But I had no idea. That was only the beginning. The next night around the same time I heard it again. Trick or treat. I knew I wasn't imagining it. I checked the peephole, it was him again. Same empty bag. Same dead stare locked on my door like he was waiting for something. I didn't open it. I turned off the living room lights. But he didn't leave. Minutes later, I heard a sharp tap on the bedroom window upstairs. I pulled the curtain aside. He was staring straight at me. Slowly, he raised his empty bag and gave it a slight shake like a signal. I screamed, threatening to call the police. But he just stood there, unmoving. The police arrived within 10 minutes and took him in. He didn't say a word. No explanation. But 2 days later, he came back. This time at the back door. No knocking. No voice. Just standing there in that same odd costume, holding the same empty bag, repeating in that sick, mechanical tone, trick or treat. I called the police again. They took him away, but didn't hold him for long. A week later, on a rainy night, I heard pebbles tapping on my window again. He was back, and gone before the police arrived. Since then, I've installed cameras, upgraded the motion sensor lights, but I still don't sleep well when October rolls around. I keep asking myself, what made him come back? Was it a personal obsession? Or just some twisted ritual of his? I don't know. And I'm not sure if this Halloween, he'll come back again. Story 3. The house at the end of the street. I was only 10 years old that year, a 5th grader. My best friend Jordan and I were more excited for Halloween than any other kids in the neighborhood. That year was special. It was the first time our parents let us go trick-or-treating alone. We planned our route down to the last detail, brought canvas bags twice the usual size, and swore we wouldn't return until they were bursting with candy. That afternoon, we started with familiar streets. The air was full of jack-o'-lanterns and kids' laughter. Everything felt perfectly festive. Until the sun went down. After a quick dinner, some Chinese takeout our parents ordered, we decided on one final round. But instead of looping back through the main area, we crossed over into the back street, fewer houses, darker, and much quieter. There was one house at the end of the road that stood out. No lanterns, no decorations, but a strange bright light poured from its windows. We hesitated, then rang the bell anyway. The door opened in seconds. A bald man, probably in his 40s, stood there in a worn-out dress shirt, smiling wide. There was a small gap between his front teeth that made his smile unsettling. He didn't hand us candy right away. Instead, he bent down, looked us in the eye, and said, "Want to see my talking skeleton? He's in the living room, locked in a cage, begging to be let out." We went silent. Jordan glanced at me, then shook his head. I gave a nervous laugh and said, "No thanks. We'll just take some candy." The man insisted one more time. His smile didn't fade, but something in his eyes grew darker. After a pause, he finally turned back inside and returned with 2 small candies, the cheap, sticky kind no kid actually wants. We thanked him and walked away. But here's the part I'll never forget. He didn't close the door. He just stood there, hands on his hips, watching us leave. His shadow stretched long across the lawn like he was waiting for something. We kept walking but skipped the house next door. Instead, we stopped at the 3rd one down and told the woman who opened the door what had happened. She looked genuinely concerned. She said she didn't even know who that man was, despite him living so close. As we crossed the street, we ran into 2 other kids. I asked quickly, "Did you guys stop by the house at the end of the block?" They nodded and told us the exact same story, except the man had said, "Wanna come in and see a super cute puppy?" I felt a chill. The story had changed. The kids had refused, just like us. But what shook me more, they had tossed the candy he gave them into the bushes. We did the same. The next morning, while I was eating breakfast, the local news came on: man arrested for trying to lure children into his home on Halloween night. Police report that he changed his invitation depending on the group, from a talking skeleton to a cute dog. I gripped my spoon tight. My mom looked at me with concern as my face went pale. Now every Halloween I remember that man, the gapped tooth grin, the unblinking stare. And I still wonder, if we had stepped through that door that night, what would have happened? Maybe I wouldn't be here to tell you this story. 3 stories. 3 near escapes. But not everyone gets that lucky. Maybe after this video, you'll hesitate a little before opening the door to a stranger or stepping out onto the balcony at midnight. If you've ever had a chilling moment in your life, share it in the comments below. And remember, the darkness is never truly empty. You just haven't looked closely enough.